Get to Wright Thompson, ESPN senior writer. Let's make Pappyland the bestseller list on New York Times. The story of family, fine bourbon, and other things that last. Available online wherever books are sold. I never steer you wrong when I tell you about a great book, and this is a great book. It's a great read. It feels like it's supposed to be about bourbon, but it's really about family, father, son, and Wright Thompson joins us on the program. How did I do? How did I do with selling that?
Well, I think you did well. Like Rush, obviously I don't care about being on the top 10, but we're both lying. I feel like a Rush show is like a Grateful Dead show that isn't fun. like I don't know that for sure. But no, look, I appreciate that. It's we've joked before. My wife makes fun of me saying I did Eat, Pray, Love for dads, but I mean it is ostensibly the story of Julian Van Winkle making the rarest bourbon in the world. But I mean, as you alluded to, this accidentally happened, sort of. It turned into a story about Julian and his dad and his children, and a story about me and my dad and my two daughters. And because it ends up being a meditation on inheritance and on home and family and sort of the things that we want to pass down to our kids and the things that we don't. I think, you and I have talked about that before, but I mean, it is trying to unravel those things.
If you were going to give a Bourbon 101 to our audience, what to look for, the take, because it can be pretty intimidating when you walk into a liquor store and you're going, I have no idea what I'm buying here. Do you know enough about bourbon after hanging out with Pappy Van Winkle that you could give some advice?
I mean, the thing I learned is sort of counterintuitive to what you would think after all of that time around him, which is, one, there's no wrong answer. So like whatever it is that you like, for whatever reason you like, is great. I mean, there's so many brands out there. Almost all of the whiskey comes from 6 or 7 distilleries. I get these emails all the time from people who bought Pappyland and are like, well, my buddy's getting married, or, what bottle of whiskey should I get? And my standard answer is go get a really nice crystal decanter and fill it up with Maker's Mark or Wild Turkey. Because, I don't, the point is the whiskey. And one of the things I write about in the book a lot is coming to understand that the whiskey is the vehicle for the thing. It isn't the thing itself. It is the conversation. It is the people you're with. It is the people who were once there, who were now there only in the sort of spirit of the toast. And that matters more to me, at least, and to Julian, than however many points it got in some competition.
Yeah, because you can go into a store. In fact, I went into a store a couple of days ago, and I just love to pick their brain. I always say, what is it that everybody wants, and why do they want it? And it comes down to supply and demand. And people should know that Pappy Van Winkle is very expensive on the secondary market, and that the owner, Julian, doesn't make that money. And it feels like, I think in the book, people would come up to him, they're angry at him. Like, why is your bourbon so expensive?
Well, it's funny because people are always asking, why don't you make more? And he always says, because I'm not selling it to you. I'm selling it to your children. And I don't know what they're going to like. I don't want to make a bunch of this stuff that comes out in 20 years and find out that the trend has changed. I mean, one of the things I found fascinating about being around Julian and about working on the book was that he has to live 12, 15, 20, 23 years in the future. And that sort of accidentally bleeds into other parts of his life. Like, you start to find it really seductive because you think, well, could I live like that? I work for a cable news network. I mean, there is no tomorrow past the next 30 seconds. And Julian is 20 years out. I mean, the whiskey they're putting in barrels right now, he won't live to see bottled. And so one of the things I thought that was really fascinating about spending time with him was both listening to him talk about that, but also just watch how that bled into how he orders his life.
He's Wright Thompson. The book is Pappyland, a story of family, fine bourbon, and the things that last. It's available online wherever books are sold. Give me the person you profiled that you'd like to do a follow-up on.
I mean, I'd like to go. evidently, and if somebody knows more about this, please reach out to me. But evidently, Michael Jordan is becoming a really good marlin fisherman. And
Yeah.
I remember Richard Ben Kramer's famous piece about Ted Williams and how serious fishermen respected Ted Williams, not because he was famous, but because he was good at the thing. And I'm curious how good Michael is getting at that and how into it he's getting. I mean, is it just something to go do while you drink beer, or has this activated the lizard brain? And the name of his boat, which evidently he came up with, I love, is Catch 23, which is a great fishing boat name.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, oh, Michael. But I would be interested to know if that is a hobby or if it has entered the realm of obsession.
And you do these deep dives. You did a wonderful one with Pat Riley. It just feels like there's interconnected tissue with a lot of these marquee people in what they do and how they do it and why they do it. Or am I reading too much into that? Right.
Well, I think there are only like 6 stories, that happen over and over and over again. I mean, I love just to sort of sit back and laugh, like fathers and sons, man. We think we're so complicated and we're just not. And, I mean, it's all there right below the surface. So, I mean, I've spent a lot of time wondering, I don't know if you have, but like, is there a greatness gene? Like if Michael Jordan would have been introduced to swimming or to chess, like, was he going to be great at whatever first activated his mind? I mean, you and I talked about that a couple of years ago about Tiger Woods. I mean, if Earl Woods would have handed Tiger Woods a cello, would he have been Yo-Yo Ma? And like, I don't really know the answer to that, but there do seem to be points of connection with these people who are super high achievers.
Are those people ever satisfied, though?
I don't know. Usually not. That's what, you and I've talked about Dale Murphy, who is the happiest retired ball player I've ever met. And I think that it's because the people who are happy understand that the famous version of them has only a passing similarity with the actual them. And that you have to like somehow let that person go. I think the people who are happiest are the ones who don't, is that famous John Updike quote, the mask eats the face. I think the people who are happiest are the ones who are self-aware enough to know that that is probably going to happen and try to stop it.
What are you working on now?
I'm doing a thing about Manchester United that is roaring along. It's I can't really talk about it, but I've been brainstorming a thing with Mickey Hart from the Grateful Dead. 16-year-old me, his mind is blown to get an email from Michael Hart, so that's pretty incredible.
Are you in England now?
No, I just got home. I'm in Laurel, Mississippi. I had a book event last night.
Oh, okay.
And, but no, I got home, I don't know, Sunday. I don't even know what day it is. And
but you can't tell me what the Manchester United.
Oh, sure. And so it's nominally about the Super League, which I'm sure you guys have talked about on the show. But what's interesting is I wanted to write about the 150-year arc of Man United fans as a way of showing both who the people were who were really angry about this and how they got so angry. And, I really like places where the membrane between the past and the present is really thin. And, Manchester, the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution, there were these neighborhoods just north of the city center where all the cotton mills were. And that was forever the heartlands of Man United supporters. And the same forces of globalism that were invented in those factories where their ancestors worked are now at work on soccer and everything else, football to them. Apologies if you're in Manchester. And it was interesting to me that what you're really watching is a business decoupling from one group of parochial local fans and recoupling to a large global audience of consumers. And so all of the stress and the tension and the angst that you feel in Manchester feels connected to those really old forces that are just beneath the surface.
Have you taken a deep dive into music with a profile? I mean, I know that I've known you with all the things you've done sports-wise, but I'm curious about that musical genius that we see, and is it applicable to, like, Bruce Springsteen strikes me as a perfectionist and driven to whatever lengths to continue to prove himself, but I don't know if you've done any profiles.
I have not. I would like to, because I do think there's some similarities. I mean, I think specifically with Bruce. I mean, when you go, I like to listen to those records in order because they all feel like letters from a certain time in his life. And one of the things I think is probably different is that an athlete is great by suppressing that self-knowledge. And I think if you're going to be Bruce Springsteen, you have to be hyper self-aware if you're going to put out these documents that are based on your own life that feel true to the listener. And so I think that it's interesting that I think there are probably a lot of the same traits, but I bet musicians, to be great, have to access insecurities and doubts that athletes have to deny and repress. I mean, I don't know. I've never really thought about it until now, but I mean, I imagine that there's similarities, but also those things feel very different.
I wish you luck with the book, and hopefully we'll make it. Now, do you want to be number one on the New York Times bestseller, or just on the bestseller?
Well, how about what was Led Zeppelin with Whole Lot of Love? Do we know?
Paulie, do we know where A Whole Lot of Love ended up? I should know this. My favorite band.
I got it as it was once 8 on the charts.
Right.
You know what? Eight sounds great. I mean, by the way, the fact that When the Levee Breaks wasn't the number one song in the world is just utterly baffling to me. I mean, get out. Come on. Who's voting on this stuff?
I think it's just people buying it. Is that right, Paulie?
That's it. Just Billboard rankings, Amazon purchases.
So we did that to Led Zeppelin. We collectively.
Well, it's interesting. So what was number one? Sorry, we're way off the track. What was number one when this was number 8?
Paulie, do you have Billboard, the top 10 list when Zeppelin was 8?
Yeah, I do, actually. I Want You Back by the Jackson 5. Well, that's pretty good.
That's a good song. What was 2?
Venus, Shocking Blue. I don't know that. Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, B.J. Thomas. Okay.
He just passed away.
I'm correcting it now. I confirmed Whole Lot of Love was number 4 that week.
Oh.
Okay. What was 3?
Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head.
That's a good list.
Don't Cry Daddy by Elvis was 6.
No. Come on.
Sly and the Family Stone was number 8.
Sly underrated. Sly and the Family Stone underrated. Hey, good luck with the book. Always great to talk to you, Wright. Thank you, buddy. He's Wright Thompson. The book is Pappyland, A Story of Family, Fine Bourbon, and Things That Last. If you want to learn about bourbon, you'll learn that. But it's also about father-son, family relationship, and a great Father's Day gift.